Hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight, as we mentioned, Gordon Hayward back in action. Cleveland Cavaliers, however, have lost 6 in a row. And is he on the hot seat? Head coach.
Woo! Hot seat. Let me see. It's only how many games?
Right, exactly.
He has 5 years on his contract. He is not on anybody's hot seat.
Great perspective, Candace.
5 years on it. You sign a coach for 5 years and you fire him within 20 games. Come on, please. Not happening.
So the 47-point loss, fifth worst in Cavs history. That's of note. Lost 12 of their last 13 games after starting 4-5. And because of who is playing tonight, we're going to welcome in a very special guest. We're going to welcome in Shams Charania. How are you?
Stephanie,
of the
Steve,
Athletic?
Candace.
Excellent.
Hope you guys are good.
Fantastic.
Everybody's doing great here.
Thanks so much.
So listen, we want to get right to the meat of things. The article you wrote talked a little bit about the Cavs and players. I don't want to use the word disgruntled, but maybe not totally pleased with their current situation. Elaborate on what's going on there in Cleveland.
Yeah, Candace is right. John Beilein is in year 1 of a 5-year contract. He's not going to be fired or on the hot seat, but there's no doubt there's Cleveland Cavaliers players from every sector of the locker room, veterans, younger players, that are essentially bristling over John Beilein coaching this team like it's a college team, whether it's harping on fundamentals, long video sessions, and just overall his treatment of their schemes has just been too much like college than it is to really, elevate itself. And now he's an NBA coach, and so that's going to be a transition in itself. And I think a part of John Beilein believed that the transition to the NBA would be a little bit more easier. He could be a little bit more hands-on, just as hands-on as he was in college, but it just doesn't always work that way in the pros, and he's starting to realize that. And the Cavs are going to, their plan is to double down on John Beilein. He's their coach, and that might mean trading some of the veteran players that they have on the roster, whether it's Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson, Jordan Clarkson, but he's their coach. There's no doubt that it hasn't been the smoothest of transitions for him so far.
Shams, I totally agree with you and Candace that he's not on a hot seat. But I will say, when you look at the transition from college to NBA, could it be some changes in his coaching staff? Because when I look at his staff, there's not a lot of people that have been around the pro game, but a few guys. Well, that may be something where the front office might address, where they get some more guys to help Beilein just with the NBA pro way. He has some great coaches, but a lot of them haven't had pro experience.
Yeah, and that's been a concern around the league when you look at John Beilein's coaching staff. J.B. Bickerstaff, Antonio Lane, guys that have had extensive NBA staff. He brought in a lot of younger coaches, and that's no knock on his staff. And obviously John Beilein, an overly successful college coach. But again, the NBA game is totally different. That's why, as me and my colleague Joe Varden reported in The Athletic the other day, a lot of players have gone to J.B. Bickerstaff as an ear, as someone to lean on in the coaching ranks for the Cavaliers right now. And again, that's not out of norm. There are a lot of players that go and speak to the assistant coaches, especially the lead associate head coach. But it's going to be a transition for John Beilein. He's figuring it out.
Well, early on, people were saying that, in fact, Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love were buying into the system. They've lost 12 of 13 such. Has anything really changed since they went on that run early in the season? I mean, there have been rumors coming out, as reported that, cuts are named after animals and, there's different coaching style, long film sessions. Has anything changed from a coaching staff position since they went on that win streak?
Candace, I think two things. The losses just continued to pile up, and Steve knows when the losing goes on at this type of level that the Cavaliers have experienced. I mean, you're looking at a 50-point deficit the other night in Philadelphia. That's really grueling on a team. That wears on you, and especially when you have veteran players like Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson that have competed for championships in the NBA. So you look at that, and then also they have had these long, extensive video sessions that players throughout this roster, and you have Colin Sexton, who's 1 year removed from college. Darius Garland just came out of college. Guys that have been in college pretty recently that are still not immune to these long, extensive John Beilein video sessions. And they've had players-only meetings where they've tried to hash out, like, how do we all get out on the same page with this new style that we have under a new coach? And, they've tried to go through it, and it's going to be a learning process for both sides.
Well, the challenge is certainly there. You brought up Kevin Love. He's back to averaging a double-double. Are there any suitors out there for him? Is a trade realistic?
Yeah, Kevin Love wants a trade to a contender. That's his preference, I'm told. And it's going to be difficult with 3 years, $90 million left on his deal after this season to find a team that wants to take that on. And you look at a couple teams out there that may make sense for a guy like Kevin Love that have been bannered about, Denver and Portland. And in Denver, I have not gotten a sense that a Paul Millsap Kevin Love trade has any appeal to the Nuggets. And then in Portland, they already have Hassan Whiteside at center. That would probably be one of the chips that you'd need to make a trade, but they're without Zach Collins potentially for the year and Yusuf Nurkic, who might not play until February. So they're going to need Hassan Whiteside. Now, can another trade, another type of player develop, a Kent Bazemore potentially? I think that might be worth to look at. But the suitors out there for a guy with 3 years, $90 million is not as expansive or extensive as Cleveland might hope.
Right. Expensive paycheck he's getting there. Shams, we thank you so much. And before we let you go, anything that you want to just break right now while we have you?
I've got nothing. I can look at my phone, though, real quick.
Check it. We got
Come
time.
on, Shams. I thought you had something on me.
We're here for breaking news.
I thought I was going somewhere
right now.
Thanks, Shams. We appreciate it. You're welcome anytime on the warm-up.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing the Boston Celtics. We mentioned it earlier. Great news. Gordon Hayward will be back in action exactly 4 weeks to the day.
So excited for him.
I mean, what is that like coming back from an injury? And this is not his first one, by the way.
I think that's why everybody was so upset is because, first of all, the Celtics were playing extremely well. They were 7-1 with him. And then, he goes out, and it just seemed like he had started to look like himself from Utah, where he was moving well. He was shooting from the floor extremely well, shooting the three ball well. It looked like he had his legs underneath him. And then he goes out. But the good thing about a hand injury or a thumb or finger injury is, it's on your upper body. So you're able to still stay in some sort of game shape, as we've seen with Paul George and his shoulders. You're still able to have your legs and get in reps. You just can't shoot the ball. And it was his off arm. So I think that will help in him coming back and having rhythm.
Candace, you said it best. I mean, he was shooting the three ball well. I mean, he was driving to the bucket, absorbing contact. It looked like he was starting to get his rhythm. Now, when he was out, they still played well, but I thought they had a rhythm going. I will say, you look at Jaylen Brown, what he's done, being able to shoot the three ball. I'm still worried about where do they divide the three shots amongst these three guys, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and also Gordon Hayward. But these three guys, they can attack you in different ways. They defend, and you can see even Jason Tatum is getting better and better on that end. Jaylen Brown is already a guy who can defend, but he also can score. I'm just going to be interested in how they package those three together and if they can get the same amount of shots to keep all three happy.
Well, if you buy into the Boston Celtics philosophy of on any given night, it can be your night. And if everybody will buy into that, I do believe that this team will and can be successful, and they were early in the season. There was a lot of doubt. What are they going to do without Kyrie Irving? How are they going to go forward? A lot of people didn't pick them to be in the position that they are and to start off the way they did. And they figured out early, 7-1, like we said, with Gordon. And I look for them to figure it out. I mean, listen, Cleveland has to struggle. Who do you guard? How do you guard a basketball that will move the way it has moved?
The question I would ask you, Candace, you look at Kemba, he likes to take shots. You look at Jaylen Brown, he's starting to take shots. He was more the defender the first 2 years. Jason Tatum likes to take shots. Gordon Hayward, yes, they have to buy in, but that's four guys that get up shots. Can you have four guys getting 15 or more field goal attempts?
I look at it as it may not be four guys on one night, but I think it's four capable guys of scoring 30. And when you have that on your roster and you have unselfishness, the thing I noticed early on in the season, they were moving the ball. Gordon Hayward's shots weren't coming off isolations. Jason Tatum's shots weren't coming off isolations. Kemba didn't shoot the ball particularly well when Gordon Hayward was in the lineup. And now he's shooting better, but the ball moves. And I think that that's the advantage that you're seeing even with a Brooklyn. When the ball stops moving, you're not going to be successful. And Boston, really has the recipe for success right now.
Well, Brad Stevens obviously very excited to get Gordon Hayward back from the injury. He had this to say moments ago.
That he is.
How does it work, rotation-wise, just with wind and all of that for him?
We'll manage that appropriately. There's no set time. but anytime that you're coming back and not having played an NBA game for 4 weeks, that you just manage it appropriately. He's done a good job of staying in shape, and he's worked hard at that, but it'll still, it'll hit him early.
Are there any medical minutes restrictions?
No.
Is it a little easier in a situation like that when it is just a hand and you can run play the full time?
Yeah, I mean, he was doing, even before he could catch, they were doing 5-on-0 with an imaginary ball running up and down the court, right? So they were acting like they were throwing a ball around. So they were moving and getting up and down, and so it's been great conditioning and for our coaching staff, and we're all better for it. So sometimes there's a silver lining for all the rest of us that get fed so well.
Did you guys find out who actually hit him on that hand in that practice?
What's that?
He said the other day that he got hit on the hand by one of the coaches.
I don't know.
It's a good test,
it's the first time we've heard that. He's probably being dramatic. Yeah.
And Marcus,
out.
getting better?
Yeah, out. He was put on a drop today and took a nap, woke up, and didn't feel any better, so he's out.
With Gordon and getting his win back, is there any sort of advantageous thing that you can do minutes-wise as far as subbing him out early and getting some work?
Yeah, we'll do some of that. We'll do some of that, and we're not going to play him 38 tonight by any means, but you just have to be alert to that. But we will try to get him, so that it also gets stretched a little bit, just get back in it. But I'm not too concerned about that right now. I mean, I think he'll be fine, and he'll be breathing heavy at the first media timeout, but after that, it should be good to go.
And with him back, is there any plan for some of the guys that had been getting minutes, like Carson or something like that, maybe get into the G League or anything like that? Have you given any thought to that?
We've got basically a written out plan for anybody that hasn't played a lot of minutes. So, we wanted to send VP up there while Taco was out. And the reason for that is it's easier for a guy that plays that position to go without practice and play. It's a little bit harder when you're a guard or a wing, the way that we're playing. So we'll get a few guys up there over the next couple of months to make sure they continue to get reps too.
Do you have a specific?
There he is, Gordon Hayward, very excited he's back. First 8 games with the Celtics, they were 7-1. He averaged just under 19, 7 boards, 4 assists. By the way, they're 9-0 at home, guys.